Hey everyone, this is Saito and welcome to my Chasca guide. In this video I will simply tell you everything that you need to know about her, how to build her properly, some teams that are very nice with her, which constellations you should go for, weapons, artifacts, everything that you need to know about her. So that said, let's get right to the video, but before that we have a new challenge. Because the day I asked you guys to reach 100 subs before 2025, just a few hours later you fucking pulverized that goal, and I'm so fucking grateful for that. And honestly, we're like 70 subs away from 200 subs. To be honest, I think we can reach 200 before 2025, and if it does, I will make a special video about it. Oh shit, the maintenance is coming. Okay, let's get to the video. Okay, so first of all, how does she play? She's a main DPS anemo character that plays with a big fucking gun. Using the skill will summon a big fucking gun and she can just ride on it, and it seems that you can fly on it for a huge amount of time. It's not like Silonen that lasts for just a few seconds, she does seem to last quite a bit longer. Now, if you do a normal attack while on the big fucking gun, nothing much will happen. You will just shoot a projectile and it's fine, but if you hold it, she will start accumulating some bullets, and you can get up to 7 bullets. Once you got all of the bullets, she will shoot from the big fucking gun and dealing a huge amount of damage. However, if you have some different types of characters in your team, of course it can only be Cryo, Hydro, Pyro or Electro, some of those 7 bullets will be of that type. So for example, 1 bullet can be Electro, 1 bullet can be Pyro, and that means that when you shoot them, they will trigger the reaction. Lastly, her burst is pretty basic, it's just a projectile that will then split into 6 projectiles. It reminds me of Tainari, like it's normal, it's a normal burst. Now for the passive talents, the first one simply says that you will get more damage from the bullets with a different element, and also based on the type of characters in your team, you will increase not only the damage but also the chance to trigger the conversion, and this will make one of the bullets change element. As for the second passive talent, when a party member triggers a natural burst, she will shoot one more shot that will deal 150% of her damage from her elemental skill, and also if your team has some characters that are Pyro, Hydro, Cryo or Electro, that shot I just talked about will be changed, and it will change to deal some different types of damage. However, the scaling is still the same, it will still deal 150%. Lastly, I guess this is a pretty good talent for utility, which says that when you kill an opponent you will gain 25 Phlogiston, which is the orange energy. However, this can only be triggered once every 12 seconds, and of course it doesn't work in like the Spiral Abyss, so it's not really a good one, but it's still better than nothing. So you should upgrade the skill, then the burst, and then the normal attacks. This is a pretty interesting playstyle, and it looks like she really resolves around her teams. Like she can really change based on her teammates, which is very nice. And also, while the explanations of her skills are pretty weird, when you will actually play her, she will maybe look very easy to play. Like in the end, I do think she will be a bit easier to play than how she's depicted, because you also saw that with Molani and Kinich, they have a huge ass description, but in the actual gameplay they are very easy. Now the best weapon that she can have is of course the signature weapon, which is the Astral Vulture's Crimson Plumage, which has a 66% crit damage as the main stat, a pretty good base attack of 608, and its effect says that after triggering a swirl reaction, for 12 seconds your attack will be increased by 24%. And also when one or more characters in your team use a different elemental type from the equipping character, which is an emo, the damage dealt by your charge attack will be increased by 20% or 48%, and your burst damage will be increased by either 10 or 24%. So if Chasca is the only anemo character in your team, you will gain a 24% ult damage and a 48% charge attack damage, alongside a 24% attack buff right after triggering an anime effect. So as you can see, the weapon is very nice because of the multitude of buffs that it can give you. The only thing that I don't really like is the fact that it's not really available for many other characters, it's not very versatile as a weapon. At least a 24% attack buff is almost unreachable for so many characters, unless, I don't know, like Faruzan or Venti I suppose. But yeah, as a weapon it looks pretty good actually. However, if you don't want to pull for it, you can get the Hunter's Path. Now the Hunter's Path is pretty bad to achieve, like it's not very easy to get. It has a pretty small base attack of 542, but a huge crit rate of 44%, and also you will gain a 12% elemental damage bonus. Also, after hitting the opponent with a charge attack, you will gain a status that will increase your charge attack damage by 160% of your elemental mastery, and this can work up to 12 times or will get removed after 10 seconds. I suppose this is also made for her, this is like very powerful for her, but as I said before, this is not a very achievable weapon. Like you can only get it if you did pull for the Tainari weapon, or if you just lost the 50-50. However, luckily bows have so many different options that are so powerful, such as maybe the first great magic, which is Linus weapon, and it increases not only your crit damage as the main stat, but it also increases your charge attack damage by 16, and also it increases either your damage or your speed based on the type of your teammates. If all of your teammates have a different type than an emo, then you will get a 10% movement speed speed buff. But for example, if you have another anemo character in your team, you will gain a 16% attack buff and a 7% speed buff. So this is very versatile, it can be applied in so many different teams, but otherwise you could try the Aqua Simulacra, which not only increases your crit damage by like 88% as just the main stat, but it increases your HP by 16%, and when you're close to the opponents you will gain a 20% damage buff. Otherwise, some other good choices would be the Polar Star, the LG for an end, the Amos Bow, and for the free-to-play option you can always go for the Stringless. It's very powerful, it increases your elemental mastery, which is something that she may need a lot, and your skill and ult damage will be increased by 24% at R1 and by 48% at R5. So for the artifacts, of course you will 100% need the Obsidian Codex. That is because every single Natlan character will always need an Obsidian Codex. Like, it's just crazy when you have a Natlan character because a 40% crit rate buff is insane, so she will always need 4 pieces of Obsidian Codex. Now if you don't have it, then you could try 4 pieces of Viridescent Venerer, which is also very powerful because it decreases the opponent's elemental resistance by the element infused by Anemo. So if you apply Electro and Anemo on the opponents, they will get a 40% resistance decrease to Electro, and you also gain a 15% Anemo damage bonus, which is also very nice. Lastly, you could try 4 pieces of Shimenawa's Reminiscence, or 2 pieces Viridescent and 2 pieces Shimenawa, or 2 pieces Shimenawa and 2 pieces Gladiator. For the sense, go for either attack or elemental mastery, it also depends on you, because it depends on what you want her to do. If you want her to be very reaction based, then you could try a lot of elemental mastery, on Sense, Goblet and maybe even Circlet, but otherwise you could go for attack on the Goblet, either attack or Anemo damage bonus, and on the Circlet crit damage or crit rate. For the substats, crit over attack over elemental mastery, and then maybe energy recharge. Okay, so for the teams there is actually so much stuff you could choose from. You could go for a multi-reaction team, you could go for a mono-reaction team, or you could go for stuff like a Vaporize, Superconduct, Electrocharge, all of that stuff. So we'll just list a few of them. For example, let's start with a multi-reaction one. You already know what that means, you will need a huge amount of reactions, so for example Fischl or Raiden Shogun, then maybe Yilan or Xinchu or Purina, and then maybe let's go with, I don't know, Xiangling. So this is a huge amount of reactions, and you could also swap like Raiden Shogun with the new released Ororon. Like, just put some characters that are very good at like expanding reactions and you're good to go. Like, you could try stuff with like Shenhe or maybe Kuki Shinobu. Like, it's really up to you. You can choose a lot of characters that are good at like dealing a lot of elemental damage, and that's pretty much about it. I do really like this kind of stuff because it lets you have like a huge amount of like mobility with teams. Now if you want a mono team, then you could try something like this one plus a C6 Kujo Sara, and now you have a main DPS Raiden Shogun plus your Chasca. Or maybe you could try something with Xiangling, Bennett and Toma, because they're all very powerful pyro characters. But if you want Dia to actually do something, you can switch her out with Toma, and even though she's pretty bad, she's like worse than him, you can still use Dia, which is a huge achievement. Otherwise you could try something like, I guess, a mono cryo team. So you should put Layla, Rosaria, and then you will need the Shenhe. Without her it will be a pretty bad team actually. And lastly, if you want a mono Hydro, then you could put Furina, Kokomi, and maybe either Xinchu or Yilan or whatever you have. So it's just a bunch of characters that are like sub DPSs plus the main DPS being the Gun Lady, which I think is very nice. The fact that you can do so much stuff is pretty cool. And then you could also try some cool reactions such as putting Ororon, then Yilan, and then Kuki Shinobu. And now you finally have an Electrocharge team, which is a huge achievement because I thought that these teams were just a myth. And lastly, if you want a good old Vaporize team, you could put Furina or Yilan or Xinchu and then put Bennett and Toma. Or maybe you could put Xiangling instead of Toma, it's up to you honestly. So yes, I do like how many teams you can play with her, that she's very flexible, so it's pretty nice. Or because I've noticed that the majority of my viewers are from America, then you can try something else. So as I said before, Tevat, I'm sure it has a lot of oil, and we are going to find out. They are going to put down the rocks, I'm sure of that. And there is also plenty of free-to-play teams, such as like Ororon, Kuki Shinobu and Xinchu being a pretty good one, or Xiangling, Tom and Bennett, or Xiangling, Bennett and like Xinchu, or something with Fischl. Like, you can do a lot of stuff. Okay, so for the Constellations, the first one is very powerful. It is an upgrade to her passive, which is the one that changes your bullet's elements, because that passive will only change the element of your third bullet. But if you have this Constellation, your second bullet will also change change its element, so it's another very powerful bullet. And also there is a much higher chance to actually trigger this kind of conversion. Lastly, it has one more effect, your phlogiston and night soul points will be reduced while doing the skill, so it's just like an exploration stuff. It's useless in combat, but you don't need that. But the second one is simply insane, like it's an even stronger constellation, it's insane. When you deal damage to the opponents with some kind of shots from the big fucking gun, you will deal a crazy amount of damage which is equal to 400% of Chasca's attack. This is just crazy, honestly. Like, this is actually insane, it's so much. And you can reset this effect every time you use multi-target fire. Now the C4 is also very powerful. When the shells from her burst will hit the opponents, they will regain some energy and also deal more damage based on the type of those shells. And this is also equal to 400% of her attack. Now personally, I think it's a bit worse than the second one, but it's still very powerful. Now the C6 is just like any other C6, where they just want to make the character broken, and I get it. This time, after you use the conversion to change the type of the bullet, for 3 seconds all of your shots will immediately charge, and also their crit damage will be increased by 120%, so it's just made for her to be a damage per screenshot. Regardless, it's another very powerful constellation, but to be honest, you should only get the first one and the second one because they are already very powerful. They are very nice, even the fourth one is also very good, at least compared to the other characters' C4s. But yeah, if you want to pull for some constellation, go get the first one and the second one. And lastly, just like always, should you pull for her? Honestly, I do think you should, because she's like the better Scaramouche. She looks like a very fun character to play. I also love the fact that she has so many different teams that you could choose from, that she's so much versatile as long as you have an element that can work with an emo. So it's very nice. I actually really like this. Her gameplay is also very simple, she's very nice to play, she can just fly around with her big fucking gun. I think she's probably the best character in terms of flying. She most likely beats Scaramouche and stuff like that. So yeah, I do think that you should pull for her. If I manage to, I will try to get her. And this is it for the video. If you enjoyed it, please consider to subscribe because we are so fucking close to 200 subs. And yes, thank you so much for 100 subs. I am so happy for that. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!